Welcome to Dancer Tips. My name is Sarah and I'm a dancer with the Lee Purtill Ballet Company. Today on Dancer Tips we are going to talk about the splits and how we can achieve them through dynamic stretching and range of motion exercises. While the splits are not necessary to be the best dancer you can be, they help achieve a more elongated line and can help you feel more comfortable in some more extended positions such as grand jeté and arabesque. I will be looking at all three splits, right, left, and center. For our right and left parallel front splits, we will need to be working on our hamstrings and our front hip flexion. When we're working on our center splits, we are working on our lateral hip flexion and rotation. Let's go ahead and jump into a warm-up. We should never be stretching when our bodies are cold. We always want to make sure we are thoroughly warmed up before stretching to access our greatest range of motion. This is why I encourage everyone to stretch for your deepest flexibility at the end of class instead of before class when your muscles are not yet warmed up. We have snow on the ground here today, so it's definitely a great day to do a nice long warm-up. Also why I'm all bundled up for the cold. This is my beautiful cat. So for today's warm-up, I'm just going to go through a quick ab exercise, and you can do any warm-up you like. Jumping jacks are really great. Any sort of bar exercise if you want to do. All right, now that we've warmed up, we're gonna go ahead and get started with our stretches for the right and left front splits. You can do all of these stretches both parallel and turned out. I like to encourage everyone to achieve their parallel front split first, and then you can work on adding that rotation for a turned out line. But let's go ahead and start with a nice deep hip stretch and hamstring stretch. We're gonna be using dynamic stretching to really help us move through our range of motion just as we would be in our regular ballet technique. So we're going to start with our right leg forward in a nice squared off lunge, making sure my hips are facing the front, taking my right leg up. You want to start with a nice 90-degree angle, and then from there, as we press forward, you can slide that front foot forward to match your level of flexibility. Now we're really stretching the front of the left hip when our right leg is forward. And now here, we're gonna take it back to a straight leg, reaching through the hamstring, flexing the foot to activate the back of the leg, and reaching forward. We're gonna hold 2 counts in each position. We'll have 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one up. Have a little more upper body into it. As you get into your range of motion, really feeling the stretch in your legs. If you're ready to add a layer of challenge to this, we're going to go ahead and take our front lunge and we're going to add an arch back. And this is going to really help us feel the stretch all the way through the front of the quad and the hip. So we'll just have stretch forward, up, stretch back, and stretch forward, up, stretch back, and down. And for our last degree of difficulty, if you need a little extra stretch, we're gonna add the twist. And this is gonna really help you feel your parallel and your rotated hamstring as we twist to the side. We have stretch forward, add the twist, forward, and up, stretch back, down, and switch. Forward, twist, forward, and up, reach, stretch back, and up. All right, great job with our first stretch. Our next stretch for our front splits is going to be a nice pigeon stretch with a range of motion exercise. We're going to go ahead and find ourselves on the mat with our right leg forward once again. Mrs. Katsy, you're gonna have to move. If you have any cats in the way, you might need to move them before starting this exercise. Come here, sweetheart. All right. Because I have a little less rotation than I would like in my front hip, I'm gonna go ahead and use a yoga block as I come down into the stretch position. So, my right leg is forward at a 90-degree angle. It can be less if you, again, are working with a little less flexibility. Go ahead and slide that foot in, and then my left leg is extended to the back, and we're working on getting that hip directly down to the ground and not open to the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a couple presses forward just to really work through those hips. 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. Good. Can also add a popped knee in the back for a little extra stretch. I'm going to quickly show you what this looks like without a yoga block if you're working at home without equipment. I'm just going to take my foot a little further in because I don't have that support. I have that nice straight back leg, and I can do that same range of motion exercises, pushing back through the hip and forward, all the way back and forward. And again, I can always take that back leg for a little extra stretch through the quad. Excellent. Nice work. Now we're going to go ahead and stretch our right split, and then we're going to do everything again on the left side. So when I stretch my right split, I'm just going to start in that same beautiful position with my right foot forward. Hips are nice and square, facing the front. Now, we're really working on a nice square split with parallel hips. So as I slide down into the splits, I don't want to let them open to the side if I can help it. I want to really keep those hips facing directly to the front. Now here, we can hold it static, right? You see this a lot in people that want to really learn the splits. They're just going to try to hold it for as long as they can. But while we're here, we can actually be helping ourselves a little bit more by adding just a little bit of a stretch to the front, and a stretch to the back, and a stretch to the front, and a stretch to the back. If you're comfortably seated in your splits, you can also practice a twist where you take your hand to the opposite leg and really focus that energy straight forward. Perfect. If you're on the beginning of your splits journey and a full split is not yet in your reach, then you can go ahead and use a little bit of equipment like these yoga blocks to help support you in your stretch. So I like to take one on either side, and I'm just going to go ahead and find that same right leg front lunge, and from here I can put my weight into the blocks as I try to straighten my legs as far as I can and hold it. And that's going to allow you a little bit of room to do a little bit more stretch. It's going to help you keep that chest up. You can see without the blocks, if I'm not in my full split, I'm really limited by how much stretch I can do by the length of my arms. So adding those blocks or something else at home to just give you a little bit of height is really going to free the upper body and help you work through a little range of motion. Great work. Let's go ahead and take it to the left side. Once again, we're going to start with our parallel lunge, left leg front this time. Keeping those hips nice and square to the wall, we're going to do our 2 count press forward and 2 count stretch back. So we have stretch forward 1 and 2, flex and stretch back 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. Now we can add that advanced stretch back here as well. 1, 2, and down 3, 4, up and stretch back 5, 6, and 7, 8. And you can also add that advanced twist as well. Right hand over the left leg, twisting towards the back. So we'll have forward and up, back, straight leg, twist to the side, repeat it all again, looking back, straight leg, twist into the range of motion. Hi guys. And up. Lunge series is one of the best stretches for the front splits because it's really going to hit both of your hamstrings and your hip flexors at the same time. That being said, you'll probably notice one of the stretches will feel tighter than the other, or one side may feel tighter than the other. For instance, on my right side, my hamstring is very flexible. So when I stretch forward with a flex foot, I'm not feeling as much stretch and I have a very deep range of motion. But my left side hamstring is just a little bit tighter. So as I stretch forward, I can feel just a little bit more stretch here, even though my range of motion does look very similar. All right, let's go ahead and take our pigeon stretch to our left side. Now, if you need some support and you don't have a yoga block at home, a great thing to do is just roll up a towel and use that to support under your hip. You can use a jacket, you can use a pillow, anything that's relatively soft and it's going to be pretty comfortable to stretch with. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and find a nice lunge, left foot in front. I'm going to go ahead and take my left foot a little bit closer to my right to get a little bit of a turnout. I'm going to lower myself down and then I'm going to tuck the right leg now to the back. So remember, you can bring the foot in as far as you need to achieve those square hips forward. We're going to do our press ups. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Remember, for an extra stretch, you can take these with a bent back leg. Good. Once again, if you need a quick demonstration without your equipment, same thing. Your left leg is going to either be at 90 if you have full rotation through the hip. If we're working with less rotation, like I am, we're just going to take the foot a little closer to our right hip. We're going to find that nice straight line, and we would just be doing the same action. Once again, you can also take it with a bent knee. Great, now we're ready to do our left split. Once again, finding that beautiful lunge, left foot forward. We're trying to keep those hips straight, facing the wall. Work on keeping those knees as straight as possible and lowering ourselves down into our split. From here, we can take that stretch forward and stretch back. Nice same position that we were just working on. And then if you're feeling comfortable, you can go ahead and add that twist, opposite hand to leg. The side is just a little bit tighter for me, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that nice modification with our yoga blocks. We take right at our sides, same lunge forward, and they're just going to help us keep the upper body elevated while we stretch forward and back, just like that. All right, now it's time to tackle our center splits. Many people do find the center splits the most difficult due to the degree of hip flexion and rotation to the side that is needed. And I'm with you. They are very difficult to do. However, with a proper warm-up, it's a pretty good stretch, and it's a really great way to help improve your side extension as well. So let's go ahead and get started with our first hip exercise. I'm going to go ahead and find a little diamond shape with my body. So my feet are together, my knees are as far apart as possible, and then my hands are going to come together in the front to create a diamond shape. So my feet and my hands are in line and my knees are out to the side. And then I'm going to be pressing back and forward to really stretch through the hip. That nice creasing through the front and side of the hip. If you find that this is a little bit too much for you, you can just bring the knees in a little bit more, and you'll be having a little bit of a bigger range of motion. Hope you guys can hear my hips popping while I do that one. So that's our very first exercise, is just a nice stretch through in the diamond shape, just front and back. Really feel those hips warming up. Our second one is pretty similar. It's just gonna involve one leg coming out to the side. So I'm gonna turn this to face forward for you. If I were in my diamond shape, this time I'm just gonna take my right leg straight to the side. So you can see half of the diamond and a nice straight leg out to the side. My hands come forward. I'm gonna press back towards my heel and lift up. I'm just gonna go through that nice range of motion a couple times. Pressing forward, coming up. That's it. Great, and then we're gonna repeat the same stretch on the left side. When you're working in center splits, we're really striving for that even flexibility on both sides, which is why it can be so challenging for a lot of people, because most of us do not have equal flexibility on both sides. So if you have a side that just feels a little bit tighter, just go ahead and do a couple extra reps so that we're trying to get them to that nice same level of mobility. So pushing up and forward, reaching through the hip, and then down and back to the ankle. Great. Now we're going to go ahead and give our hips a little bit more of a openness and a stretch as we work through them in a full circle. So you're just going to come to your hands and knees, and in this one, we're going to take the leg up and around, sort of tracing a circle with that knee. Working on keeping everything nice and tight. And lift it up and out of the leg. And then you'll just go ahead and reverse directions, tracing a circle with that knee, opening the hip and squeezing through your glutes. Great. Just make sure we always repeat on the left side to stay balanced. Let's go ahead and do that one. So we have out and around. Keeping everything nice and tight. And then we're going to reverse, forward, and around to the back. Really squeezing through that glute at the top of our stretch. Excellent. And then we're going to go ahead and do a quick mobility exercise while we're here. Really keep those hips nice and warm. By now you're probably like, they're super warm, but they can always get more warm. So for our first position of our mobility stretch, we're going to take our right leg, we're going to find that 90-degree angle, and then we're going to take our left leg and find that 90-degree angle to the side. So if I'm facing the front, my right leg, 90 degrees in front, left, directly to the side, nice 90 degrees. And then we're going to go ahead and lift the knees off the ground and take the same stretch to the second side. Now we have left knee in front, 90 degrees, right knee out to the side, 90 degrees. And we're just going to go ahead and work through that range of motion a couple times. Feel that nice stretch through the hips, making sure we get a full twist. Knees are down as we come around to each side. Excellent. Now we're going to spend just a little bit of time in our straddle position. So go ahead and take those legs out to the side as far as we can. We've got a little bit of a couch in the way. So you can keep your feet either pointed or flex. We just don't want to let them sort of droop around in the middle. I'm going to keep them pointed. They kind of stay tucked right under the sofa that way. So in this position, we're going to really be making a circle, side, forward, side, and up, and then we'll reverse the direction to keep it nice and balanced. You can use your hands as much as you need to as support during this exercise. So we stretch over to the left, then you can walk those hands forward and around, and then over to the right. We reverse. Over, stretch forward, over, and up. Over, stretch forward, over, and up, and forward, over, and up. One more time. Over, stretch forward, over, and up. Excellent. And while we're here, we're just going to take a quick series of walks forward on our hands. So you're going to put your hands right in front of you. You're just going to walk forward as far as you can. Just take one deep breath and then walk back. So we're keeping that nice motion in the stretch. We're not going to hold it for a very long time, but we are going to try to get a little bit deeper every time we take it forward. So take it again. And deep breath. And walk it in. We're going to do 2 more. Forward. Breathe. And walk it in. And this is our last one. We're reaching as far as we can go. Looking for a nice flat spine. And walk it in. Now it's time to practice our full center split. Now, going straight into the split can be painful for some people, and you may feel a lot of pressure in the knee. So if you are experiencing a little bit too much pain when you're stretching your center split, go ahead and start with a half split and then a 3/4 split on each side. For our half split, we're going to just do our center split with our knees. So you'll come to all fours, and then we're going to slide our knees out to the side, keeping them in a nice straight line, and we're going to stretch a nice half split. Now you can hold here, or you can rock forward and backward to really work through that range of motion, squeezing through the glutes and opening through the front of the hip. Now, if the half split is a good stretch, that's great. You can stay there. Otherwise, you're going to go ahead and take a leg straight while the other leg is at the knee. This is what I would refer to as a 3/4 split. You're almost at the full split. So the most important thing here is that we want to keep knee and foot in a nice straight line as we slide out. Again, you can use an elbow for support. You can use your hands. You can use a yoga block. We're keeping everything open, facing forward. A big stretch through the knee and foot. If you are doing 3/4 splits, it's important to make sure that you do both sides. As always, we want to stay nice and even, taking the other leg out as well. You may find here that you have one side that does feel, again, a little more flexible, or one that may feel a little tighter. Perfect. But once you're comfortable with your 3/4 split, let's go ahead and take a practice for our full center split. Now, for this, I would encourage you to go ahead and find something for support, because this is a very extreme position, and it's a lot easier to really breathe and relax into the stretch if we can really help minimize the pain. So you want to find a relaxing position that we can really breathe and find a little bit of stillness. If we're just all tense and full of pain and we can't find that nice relaxation, it's going to be a little harder for us to deepen the stretch. So I'm just going to go ahead and support my elbows with a yoga block, but you can absolutely use a towel or even hold on to your sofa or a chair while you're doing this stretch. Or maybe your hips are really open, they're feeling nice and warm, and this is going to be super easy and no big deal for you, in which case that's amazing and I'm super proud of you. So let's go ahead and start. On our knees, we're going to take our right leg out and our left leg out a little bit further up than we would originally start, and you're going to go ahead and slide out into our full range of motion. Now, if you are not using the supports, maybe like, where do my hands go? Right? I'm just say like the hands should be just right in front of your hips. If you need a little more support, you can take them out a little wider. And if you're getting really close to the ground, you're going to go ahead and find support on the elbow. It's going to look like this. While you're in the center split, you can point and flex to really help improve that range of motion. And you can also practice a little arch up or a little stretch from side to side. Those are my tips for our center split today. If you're an avid fan of professional ballet or gymnastics, you may have noticed a rising trend in hyperflexibility or learning the oversplits. Now this sort of is a fusion of classical ballet and contortion, where we're really pushing the body to its most extreme capabilities. Now this is very controversial, and many health experts warn of the dangers that it can cause to your joints. So if you are working on hyperflexibility and oversplit in any of the three positions, it's very important that as you train, you're also making sure that you're using a lot of strengthening exercises and really working on your muscle strength so you have support throughout the joint and your position. So we'll take one quick look at a nice and simple oversplit stretch if you already have your splits and you're looking to gain just a little bit more mobility. So for this, you're definitely going to need either a yoga block or a stack of books or a couple towels or pillows, just something that can really help you elevate your foot off the ground. Now, when we are performing an oversplit, we want to really make sure that our flexion and extension is coming from the hip, and we're really not trying to gain extension from the knee. This is where you can really injure yourself and cause a little overstretch injury in your ligaments. So you want to really try to support and stretch from the hip so that we're getting those extra degrees of extension all the way from the hip and not just from the knee. While some people have naturally hyperextended knees, we don't want to force our knees to hyperextend if they are not naturally hyperextended. So we're going to go ahead and start in our lunge, where all our exercises start. Surprise! And for this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and put my yoga block under my supporting knee, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring my regular leg out as usual. Now this is the most basic version of the oversplit, which is elevating the back leg. And in this position, you're just going to go ahead and do a couple range of motion stretches just to feel that same extension as earlier. Make sure those hips are super warm. And then we're going to go ahead and just take our split forward with that nice elevated back hip. Now, I could have a regular split line. At this point, my hips would not be on the ground, but because I'm in that oversplit line, my right hip is dropping down to the ground and my left hip is elevated. It's really important in our oversplits that we're not sitting sideways with an open hip, but we're really keeping everything parallel and facing our front leg. Here, you can go ahead and add the stretch forward and the stretch back. If you're looking for a little extra stretch in your oversplits, you can go ahead and elevate both feet or just stack up a couple more yoga blocks. Because I'm here and I have my couch right here, I'm just going to go ahead and show you a little bit more of an extreme oversplit stretch. This is not a stretch that I would do on the regular because I'm not looking for those overextended lines. I'm happy with my regular split line, but if I were in the mood for something a little bit more extended, then this is a stretch that I could work on at home. Just taking my front foot up onto the raised surface, keeping it nice and straight, supporting myself with the blocks, and then really working on straightening the back leg and lowering the hip into that extended split line. You can definitely also do that on your other leg, although I will be skipping that for today as I do not have quite enough extension to feel comfortable stretching that left oversplit today. So I am going to show you a couple quick oversplit stretches for the center. And these are more concerned with the strengthening of the oversplit as we stretch in the center. So you're going to go ahead and find a nice wide straddle, and you're going to go ahead and put your support under your legs and push up. And you're just going to do a couple of these press-ups to really help strengthen those hip muscles in your straddle. And then at the top of the press-up, you can stretch it over and forward to get a little bit of an extra stretch. If you're not feeling enough stretch with your support at the hip, you can take it below the knee, just make sure it's not on the knee. And you can do the same press up here. It's a little bit more challenging. I'm definitely going to be using my hands here to demonstrate. You're pressing up and then pushing forward over your support blocks and really working on getting those hips down. From this elevated position, you can also stretch forward and work on getting a nice flat back. Those are all the stretches I have for you today. Just remember, always stretch when you are warm and never stretch on cold muscles. So make sure you always do a nice thorough warm up before you're going into these nice deep stretches, and really try to work through a nice range of motion. And again, if you're really looking for a very sharp line, a nice deep level of flexibility, make sure that you're always countering with a really good strengthening workout to activate those muscles. Because no matter how beautiful our splits are, if we don't have the muscles to hold it, we can't replicate that extension in class. So we always want to make sure that we're really working through those muscles so that we can use our extension to its fullest and not just have this passive flexibility that's only present when we're stretching on the ground. So happy stretching, good luck, and have a great day.